Welcome to the It's in Queens podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Simmons, and this is the only podcast that focuses on my borough, Queens, the place that has it all. If you are a regular listener, you'll notice I started today's podcast off with some different music. That was Yo-Yo by Ali Bello and the Sweetwire Band. And Ali is an acclaimed musician who lives here in Queens and who will be performing live and in person in a few days. I'll talk with him in just a few moments. His appearance illustrates that culture is coming back publicly, in person. Even though there's still a lot that we can watch online, the thrill of the in-person performances is just incomparable. The return of arts and entertainment is vital to our economic recovery in a post-pandemic world. It draws visitors from across the country and around the world, and of course, those that live here. And it's also a sector that employs more than 93,000 people in New York City. People come to the city and to Queens because of our vibrant cultural life. So it's been fantastic to see this come to life again, even if it still will take some time to return to what we were used to before. I read a piece in the New York Times just a few days ago that said that next year, 2022, could be one of the more challenging moments. We're open, we're back in business, but are people still ready to return, or are they still hesitant? But that same article noted that this fall could be a big test. It feels like we're dipping our toes in the water right now, making sure it's appealing enough that we will dive right in. The summer is a good time to start because, of course, come September, it's back to school and back to work for those who took some time off, of course. Queens Theater, and in full disclosure, I've been doing some work with them recently, is a great example. They're planning for the return of audiences indoors, but in the meantime, still hosting events online and inviting audiences to see performances in person outdoors. Queens Theater just built a stage outdoors in Flushing Meadows Corona Park and launched Turnout Queens, even bringing audiences the award-winning Durant's Dance, and also coming up on that stage is Motherland Dances, Os Clavlitos, and Calpulli Mexican Dance Company. They're also going right into the community as well with their series in Corona Plaza, and that's where today's guest, Ali Bello, comes in. Born in Venezuela, he has become a sought-after violinist, distinguishing himself for his versatility among different musical styles. And you will get a chance to see him live in the heart of the Corona community this Sunday, July 25th, when he performs at 4 o'clock in Corona Plaza as part of Queens Theater's Turnout Corona series. Ali Bello, welcome to the It's in Queens podcast.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So you live in Queens, but you were
Yes.
born in Venezuela. Where did you grow up, and then what brought you to Queens?
Well, interesting question. Well, I grew up in Venezuela. I grew up in the capital, Caracas, I was part of the Sistema. I started from very little when I was in kindergarten, my music school. I went to the conservatory, and that's how the Sistema kind of works. I don't know if you know about a Sistema, but that's the system of orchestras, of youth orchestras of Venezuela. So we have after-school programs that basically just after school, obviously, but you go into music school, and it was probably every day, from Monday to Friday. We have you get introduced to instruments, you get introduced to orchestras, and you get introduced to different ensembles, mostly classical at that time. And I kind of, when I grew up, being from kindergarten, kind of music was part of my daily routine. Every day I went to music school, so I guess it was just natural to trying to become a musician. And when I finished high school, just the dream of every boy, let's come to New York, let's go to the Mecca of music, keep studying. So I went to school. I went to the new school. I went to Queens College. I studied many years there, and then I went to the new school. And then, I became a musician, a freelance musician. After I finished school, I decided to stay. And I kind of start branching in different music genres. So I was not just classical, but I started doing a lot of charanga. I was playing with Los Jóvenes del Barrio, a very well-established band at the time. And that really opened the door to many of the things between, world music, jazz, Latin. So it's been with a whirlpool of music and, a mixture of everything that from New York can offer, and in terms of music.
And so what was it about music? What was it about the violin that appealed to you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I cannot tell you that, this is the moment when I really fell in love with violin, because in kindergarten, I was very little. And one of the things that El Sistema preaches is that they give you an instrument right away. Like, you make music. So when you are that little, when you are 6, 7 years old, there's not that many instruments that you can play in terms of, the physical aspect of it. So violin is kind of like the first thing that they give you. You can change later. But I guess, it was violent for me since I have memory of anything. I had a little instrument and it was violent. So I mean, I guess once you grow up, it just grows on you, and then just kind of let that trying to get better, and the love for the music, and just become part of me. So it was just given to me, but I mean, I really took it, and it just part of my, it's like an arm extension. Even I'm walking without my violin and I feel like I'm missing something.
Oh, by the way, so you talked about, the dream of everyone was to move to New York. Where did you live when you first moved here to New York? What brought you to Queens?
Sure. When I moved to New York, I originally moved to Long Island. I mean, I was very close to my violin teacher, Miss Margaret Brady. She was a junior teacher, so that's kind of started my lessons. But then, really quickly, I moved to Queens. I moved to Flushing Meadow Park, because I went to Queens College. Then I moved to Manhattan because I went to the new school. Then I moved to Brooklyn again. I moved to Brooklyn, Williamsburg. I lived for a few years, and now I live in Middle Village in Queens. So I'm back to Queens where I started when I went to Queens College. So this area is pretty good in terms of being close to everything. Is more family in Middle Village. Now I got my kids and everything, so it just kind of was perfect to be not in the city, but not that far away, so I can still work at night and do my schedule.
And I'm going to come back to later on about some of the things you like about Queens, but let's talk about your career. First of all, the Sweetwire Band. Talk a little about when it was formed.
Sure, like the Swivel I went was formed about 5, 6 years ago. Um, the point was to really do my music, do my what I wanted to do. Being a musician is all fun and loving, but you play a lot of, people call you, you play all the bands, you play all the people's styles, you play, so you learn a lot. But at some point, you kind of leave it like you need to. This is my voice. This is what I want to do. This is the music that I hear in my head when I go to bed. So I need to put it in paper. I need to record it. I need to do it. And that's how the project became. It kind of a fusion of Afro-Venezuelan music, but with a lot of mixtures from not just the Caribbean, but New York kind of style. So, and when I mean New York kind of style is, we're not purists. Like, I'm not trying to do this kind of style. So I'm trying to do what I hear in my head, and the combination of music that I think it will be original. It will be something that it haven't been done before, and it kind of just looking for that term of, it's like if somebody hear it, I want people some things like, wow, that's interesting. That's the only thing I'm looking for. So it's very experimental. We use a lot of sounds, electronics, acoustic, a lot of percussion. So it's just trying to be as many elements that could be original in that sense.
And I'm glad you're talking about that, because you fused modern jazz with musical traditions from Venezuela, the Caribbean. What is it that makes that sound so special?
I think for me, it's all about the rhythm. The way I write a song is, I have a rhythm in mind. I got a certain percussion, and I have some certain sound that makes it the bass. And then from there, I start building blocks. What will the piano, what will the bass do, and what kind of like the groove within that rhythm will do. And then, then probably I put last will be the melody, the one I play, because I need to have that bottom, that bass from which I'm gonna create the music that the melodies that you're gonna hear. So yes, I mean, for me, the richness on it's all from Africa, all the drummings that we have, but we have all the different Caribbeans rhythm from Afro-Cuban, from Afro-Venezuelan, from Colombia, from all the islands, and even United States. You got New Orleans, you got all the different drumming from Africa, and the genres of African Americans. So that really is the whole point, just to mix all that in. It's just one drum. It's just different beat. That's all.
So, throughout your career, you have played with some of the great masters of Latin jazz. Tell our listeners about this.
Yeah, I mean, I have the fortune to play, from Jose Fajardo, Senior, who was like the grandmasters of charanga music from Afro Cuba, who moved to here. I played many years. Well, he was still alive. He passed away. I played with a Johnny Pacheco, who also passed away recently. One of the great Funny All Star member and founder and creator of a lot of the salsa movement here in the United States, in New York, and the development of that. Rudy Calzado, Johnny Almendra, great mentor. So it's been fun. I can't say, I miss the golden era of the Latin. That would be, the 70s, 60s, and 70s. That was it. But I got to soak into some of the great musicians that still alive, Sonny Bravo, Johnny Rodriguez. I got to, perform with Tito Puente. I mean, so I got a lot of that. And I think I try to express it in my music, not just, like I said, not just my music from my country, Venezuelan, but that the way they play, the way they approach the music, the way they fronted, the way they presented it. I try to bring all that in my music.
And beyond them, also a number of other bold-faced musical names like Beyonce too, from what I understand.
Well, yeah, being in New York, being as a freelance musician, then you get involved in different genres. So yeah, from hip hop, different artists, from Beyonce, Jay-Z and his concert at the 10th anniversary, to flamenco dancers and flamenco singers and players, tango musicians, a lot of tango, Daniel Vinelli, Raúl Jaurena, like most really big names in the genres. So it's really Peruvian music. I perform with a Susana Vaca regularly when she's great Peruvian singer. I used to play with I got the pleasure to play with Mercedes Sosa, the great Argentinian singer. So it's just being here, and that's what I say. Everybody wants to come to New York. I mean, especially musicians, because over here you are got the center where everybody meets, so you get that connection with all kinds of music and all kinds of musicians. So yeah, it's been a wild drive, and I love it. I think I try to present that in my music as well.
You use the word connection. This last year was really difficult for so many sectors, including the cultural sector, where it was difficult to connect. We all had to shift to virtual. How did you deal with this last year?
Yeah, no, it was difficult. I mean, tell you the truth, first month of it, I mean, it's just basically just being at home, trying not to go crazy. Um, and I mean crazy in the sense like what you want to do something, but you can't. You just have to stay home. That's what it is. So well, I mean, I have my studio and I record at home. And I really went hard on it, and I started working with this company called Musiversal, and it's a Portuguese company, and what they do, we just do remote recording. So we set it up. We meet by Zoom, and then through plugins and through the computers, they can hear my computer, my workstation, and I record live for them. So and that will really, I started doing a lot of recordings. I always done it, but then it took me to the next level of being, very professional, clean, and all set up. So that's what I do that. I do 3-4 times a day. I have blocks of 5-4 hours when I do recordings, and I'll do from some guy in Russia doing a techno beat, some two guy in LA doing some film for a commercial. There's a few Netflix already, in Spanish Netflix, a lot of movies. Now I'm playing the violin, and all done from the basement of my studio in my house. So that kind of kept me going. Also, I finished my album. I had an album pending, and that was a big thing. It's just like, well, I got nothing to do. I gotta finish the album. So people think it's an album. It's all is you just record and that's it. But it's a lot of things, and especially the way I wanted. I had it laid out. I had different little things, elements. So we recorded the big chunk of the album, so the whole band together, before the pandemic. But then the pandemic hit me, so it kind of just I did the overdub. So it was fun because now I was working with musicians like me, remotely. Jalil Shaw, who plays the saxophone, he recording his studio. So we kind of add all the little things that I needed, and then the production of mixing and mastering also, during the pandemic. So it was great. A couple of months it came out. It's called Inheritance, and it's all 9 songs of my own music. Trying to create that Venezuelan kind of I don't want to say it's Venezuelan music, but I use a lot of the rhythms, and based on that, I mix it with New Orleans music, blues and stuff like that. So it kind of, it's very original. I try not to describe the music because I feel like I fell short. I think you need to hear it. Take a look at it, and if you don't like it, 2 or 3 songs, it's fine. But you please, take a look at it.
So I'm glad you finally mentioned the name, because I kept waiting to say, what is the name?
Ah,
Tell our listeners. But this is your follow-up to Connection Caracas, if I'm correct. I mean, why? And that was out in 2013. Why so long between albums?
yeah, no, that's the $100 million question. Well, the first album was called Connection Caracas, New York, and it was with the Soho album. I think that album was kind of I mean, that was the initial pet step, like, okay, I want to do my music, this is what I do. And it kind of was a presentation card. I do like I try to mix, there's a clean cut of, there's 3 songs of like more Latin jazz, New York kind of Latin jazz. There are 3 songs that are more like flamenco kind of style, they got an air of flamenco, and then 3 songs that are more like Venezuelan style. They're all mixed together. But I think what took me so long, a few reasons. I don't want to get into into a lot of details, but I had tendonitis, so I kind of like, when we recorded, I had to kind of stop, a lot of tendonitis, inflammation of the tendons on your arms, and playing violin and playing constantly every week, that kind of had to, like, I had to take it easy for a year, and I had to be conscious of what it is, and live with it, because I still have it, but now I know how to manage it. Also, problems, I have the misfortune, my mother had cancer, so I had to kind of delay a little bit of a thing. So it's a lot of things, like everything, life goes in the world. I had a new son, my son is 5 right now. So, fatherhood, stuff like that, it just kind of, I'm not giving excuses. It's just, sometimes your attention goes something else. And when you're producing, doing everything on yourself, on your album, it kind of, takes a toll on the time that you can spend. And, really for me, it was more like, I really want to do something that I want to do. Like, I had something in mind and it wasn't there. I was like, no, that's not it. That's not going to be published. Like, I'm very picky to what I want to put out there. And not just for the quality of me, but it's for what I really wanted to do. So, I mean, that's why, I wish, it was less, it was amazing when I looked at the time. I was like, wow, that much time passed between. And also I wanted to very clearly, this album is more refined in the concept that I wanted to do. Like, it's a more homogenic album, in the sense of all out, all the songs kind of, they are different, but they trying to present a specific elements that evolve within the album. And also, the shape of the album, when you think about an album, it's just one song and then another song. Is, how they connect, how they represent the variety of it. And even there are like different songs, you're trying to create, like, that fast, slow pace. When you hear an album, you hear, well, this is a whole work of art. I mean, it's like art, but it's a whole work. I know in this sense, we don't hear music that way anymore. It's all about the single. It's all about one song. It's all about, that hit, this is a song. I guess I'm still from the old school. I mean, still, that old album, when you play the album and you hear the whole thing, to me, it's not just a song. To me, this is what we do. It's for art. For me, it's not just, it has to be this group of thing of work that create an album for me. So, I mean, that's the way I think. That's why the album is this way. And I think this second album, you get the next step in being refined from the first album.
So your performance coming up in Corona Plaza as part of Queens Theater's Turn Out Corona series this summer. I expect the plaza is going to be filled. What can your audience expect to experience?
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be fun. I hope it doesn't rain. I hope it's not too hot. These days, you never know. Because it's funny because all this performance is being outdoors because of the pandemic. We're trying to be outdoors, but now the outdoors is really hitting back on us. But you're gonna expect a lot of high octave music. We bring in, it's only 1 hour, so we bring in, all the best of the new album, the old album, and a little. I know we're playing for a demographic that is Latin, a lot of Mexican, Colombians, a lot of people that like Latin music. So we're mostly gonna play most of the Latin repertoire. Put them to dance a little bit. We got I got a guest, Maria Raquel singer. We're gonna do a couple of songs and people put into dance. And the band, Gabriel Chacarri on piano, Bamban Rodriguez on bass, Maelo Baez on percussion, me on violin, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be Latin. It's gonna be hip. Bring your shoes and let's dance.
Okay, so as I get ready to wrap up, I often forget to ask these questions with guests, so you're going to be my victim today. Tell me your favorite place to dine in Queens. Where do you like to go?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Let me see. I got a couple. But when I had when I live in in Williamsburg, I used to come to Queens all the time to the taqueria. Now I forget because my wife's the one who always. But there's a huge taqueria. Oh my God, I will not remember right now. I'm so hyped that my mind is in so place. But there's a taqueria that they do their own tacos on place, and they do their own wrap, their own tortillas. Is right by the zoo.
Okay, well, you're giving at least a location. I thought you were
right
going
there, right there in Flushing Meadow Park, right next to the zoo, right there to the middle of Flushing Meadow in Corona Park.
Okay,
I think it's the Mascal something. You're gonna hate me for this.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay. So, what's your favorite thing to do in Queens when you want to relax, when you want to just get out of the house? What do you like to do?
You're funny. I live 10 minutes from the zoo, and I used to take my kids because it was boring and being at home. So I used to take my kids even in winter to the zoo, almost like 3-4 times a week because just to walk and have fun. My wife works in the morning, so I used to be. And one of the favorite places was to be in the morning for the 11 a.m. for the feeding of the sea. What is it? The sea lions, because there was nobody there. So we have a feeding of the sea lions all by ourselves in the zoo, Queens, and that you can beat that. It was so much fun. I still love it. I still just go with them just for the heck of it. So I love the zoo. I love the zoo.
That's fantastic. So as I wrap up, where can our listeners go to learn more about you and to also find out more about Inheritance?
Sure. Well, my new album, you can always reach my website, www.alibello.com, ALIBELLO.com. All my schedule is there. The albums and the music, the clips and the videos. You can always reach me there. That's the best way. You can always reach me in Facebook. Same thing, Alí Bello, Facebook or Alí Bello Music Facebook, and Alí Bello Music in Instagram and Twitter. And that's where I maintain all my social media. Just Alí Bello Music.
Ali Bello, thank you so much for joining me here on the It's in Queens podcast.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for having me. I'll see you Sunday, and it's been a pleasure.
That was Ali Bello and the Sweetwire Band. And again, he will be at Corona Plaza this Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. If you haven't been there, it's on Roosevelt Avenue between National Street and 104th Street. It's only steps away from the 7 train. You don't even have to register in advance for this event. Although, if you do want to go to the other Queens Theater outdoor performances on its stage in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, you will have to RSVP. So, you definitely have to check out the roster of performances on the horizon. Visit queenstheater.org. And check out who else will be in Corona Plaza, like Grupo Rebulo, Sisa Pacari Dance, Tango y Mas, and Mestizo Dance Company, all coming up. If you're looking to discover what else is happening in the borough, then look no more. Oh, wait, you'll have to look one place more after you hear this next segment. This podcast is brought to you by the Queens Economic Development Corporation and the Queens Tourism Council. They showcase Queens as a destination with something for everyone who lives here, who works here, or who just wants to visit from near or from far. And each week, Rob Mackay of the Queens Tourism Council and Queens Economic Development Corporation finds the best things for you to do, and he brings them to you here on the It's in Queens podcast. Here's his report.
How are you, Jeff? It's Rob Mackay. Happy to be back to tell you about something that's very popular and has returned after a COVID issue last year, and that is the Forest Hills Stadium Concert Series. It's outdoors. It's in a historic place where some of the best U.S. Open tennis was played. Arthur Ashe made history as the first African American to win the U.S. Open there. But the Forest Hills Stadium, which has been converted strictly to concerts, is about to start its series this Friday, July 23rd, with someone named Brandi Carlile, who has received 11 Grammy nominations and won 6. She's you would describe her as alternative country singer. She's also written a best-selling book and founded a foundation. And of course, now she'll be at Forest Hills Stadium on July 23rd at 7 o'clock. It's going to be, I've been looking at her, I got to admit, I don't know her, but I've been looking at her website and everything else. She has a huge fan base. So it should be an emotional concert as we're reopening. Beyond that, you'll get Bright Eyes, which is an indie rock band from Nebraska, on Saturday, July 31st at 4:30. And then you'll get Wilco and Sleater Keeney playing rock on August 21st, Saturday. A punk rock night with the Dropkick Murphys, Rancid, and a band called The Bronx on August 28th. King Crimson, which is takes you back to the 60s and 70s, and the Zappa band, as in Frank Zappa, are there on Saturday on September 9th. Then you get a Southern Rock night with My Morning Jacket and Brittany Howard on September 11th, and the British alternative rock band, who, as I understand, has become quite popular, called The Neighborhood, and they spell it with that U in neighbor, on October 2nd. Starting at 5:30. It'll be next year, 2022, but the indie pop group AJR will be at the stadium on May 21st. The big news, of course, is Brandi Carlile, the alternative country singer with 6 Grammys, will be there Friday, July 23rd, which is, of course, coming up right now. And before I go, everything there is available at foresthillstadium.com or itsinqueens.com. And before I go, let me just share with you that I spent last Saturday at the Queens Night Market and last Sunday at Rockaway Beach, and both were absolutely spectacular. Queens Night Market was doing its thing with just all kinds of food from all kinds of countries, and Rockaway Beach, the water was just wonderful. Jeff, back to you. Hope to see you in Queens this weekend, okay?
That was Rob Mackay of the Queens Tourism Council and Queens Economic Development Corporation. As I said, he always knows what's going on here in our beautiful borough. So take a few moments and look up the It's in Queens website so you can plan ahead. Visit itsinqueens.com and make sure to bookmark it because you're going to want to go back there again and again. Or make it even easier. Get notified right in your inbox. The way you can do that, sign up for the Queens Economic Development Corporation's newsletter at queensny.org. And as I always say, remember this. Tag us on Twitter. Use the hashtag #It'sInQueens, or just follow us on Twitter at @It'sInQueens and share those posts. It would help to spread the word about everything that's going on here in our wonderful borough. I'm your host, Jeff Simmons, and that's it for the It's in Queens podcast this week. And as I close, I'm going to leave you with another taste of Ali Bello's music. This song is called Kaleidoscope Sunset. Have a great day.